Testing, testing, testing. All right, cool. I like to say good evening to or good afternoon to anybody that's watching, and to anybody that's gonna come in. I was also checking my phone to see would it show up. But I just want to look at something today, real brief. Um, just something that was on my mind regarding what's been happening lately pertaining to this abortion stuff that's been going on. The conversation that's been going on lately regarding a woman being able to take it to her third term and having a option to kill the child at birth. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but it's like we've taken we've taken this to a whole new level now. And it's real sad to see this because we came from a time where you would actually hide abortions. You didn't want nobody to know about it and stuff like that, and you kept it in the closet as long as you could. At least coming from the climate I came from, or the time I came up in, it was hidden. And they didn't have stuff readily available for you to take out your child if you weren't satisfied or if you didn't want to have the child. Now, one thing I would like to say is if you don't want children, then you shouldn't be having sex. And what I mean by that is outside of marriage. Um, when you married and stuff like that, hey, you don't have a choice in the matter uh, when it comes to husband and wife. You can't in a sense deny a husband and wife from that. But as far as like just being promiscuous and stuff like that, and just out here in the world, uh, having sex and stuff like that, that's not the way it's supposed to go, and that's why you have a lot of women have abortions because it's not done in the proper way in the first place. And that's why I wanted to look at this. You can see that I titled this. Let's see here. What's the name of this? Make sure I got the right title for this. Okay, yeah. It's called Abortion is Murder. No contraceptives needed. And let's go over to Exodus chapter 20, because when we get into Exodus, we'll see that the Lord does have some commandments out here, and there's no way to slice it when it comes to this particular commandment. And this particular commandment we're talking about in Exodus 20 verse 13 is thou should not kill. Now this isn't referring to like going out to war and stuff like that. This is talking about murder, and you're not supposed to do it. So there's no way you can be considered a Christian or call yourself a Christian and you even back this, you support this, um, and like I say, you can't be a Christian. You can't be someone that believes in the Bible, call yourself believing in the Word, and you happen to be for abortion. You know. So let's see something here. Now I'm gonna go show you that when it says thou shalt not kill, what it's strictly talking about, because some people say, well, with the Lord, He would allow war and stuff like that, and then somebody come in your house, you happen to defend your house, and somebody gets killed. People try to use those type of instances to say, well, were you killed, or they killed when they went to war, but God didn't talk about that. So let's see exactly what he's talking about. Really, when he says thou shalt not kill in Exodus 20, he's really just talking about thou shalt do no murder. Okay? And that's why I titled this that, because that's exactly what abortion is. It's more. It's murder. So let's see something here. And I don't know how we got to this. Matthew chapter 19, we're going to look at verse 16. I don't know how we got to the time where we are now, but just think about the way things are going now. Everything that God is for, everything that God tells us to do, Satan uh, is opposite of. Like the Lord told us to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. And, one way we're going to replenish the earth is to have children. So you have Satan on the back end trying everything he can to stop the process of having children. And nowadays it's glamorized. And because it's glamorized, this is why we're at this point where, you can now have a child in your third trimester, and you can have an abortion. This child is fully developed. This like it's hard for me to understand this. I'm not going to try to understand it because this is just the time we're living in. But just to think about where we've come as mankind is scary, and we can clearly see that Satan has completely taken over the world. Now God has allowed him to do it, but I just want you to understand where we are, and we can't be so ignorant to believe that God isn't on his way back. I'm starting to understand now how it says in Genesis how evil was on the hearts of men continually. Like when they passed the bill in New York and they trying to get the same legislation pushed through in Virginia. Just to see where we are in time, it's crazy within itself, because like I said, I never thought I'd be able to see something like this. But you think that man has got to a point where we've can't get any worse than we are, and man just keep coming up with evil. I mean, and I kind of think the government shutdown was probably a distraction to get this bill pushed through. But back to the point, Exodus chapter 20, the Lord said, thou shalt not kill. That's one of the commandments that he told Israel when he brought them out. So that's still good. Thou shalt not kill. But over in Matthew chapter 19, going to give us a clear definition of what he means by thou shalt not kill. So Matthew 19 and verse 16, because it's not going to fall upon the same category as war. Like the Lord, he even instituted wars. You know what I'm saying? He allowed those things to happen. And when he get back, hey, some war going to go on also. So we're not talking about that. You defending your household, you stopping someone from hurting your children and stuff like that. You having to take a life. That won't fall under this category of thou shalt not kill. Let's see what the Lord was actually talking about, because this is what's going on today. And this is what this abortion falls up under. So at Matthew 19:16, it says, and behold, one came and said unto him, good master, what good thing shall I do that I may have eternal life? Because that's what this is all about when it's all said and done. We're seeking for everlasting life. So the rich young ruler comes asking, Lord, what should I do to get this everlasting life? And he said unto him, why call thou me good? There's none good but one, that is God. But if thou will enter into life, keep the commandments. So, like I say, there's no way you can call yourself a Christian if you're for killing babies, killing children. There's no possible way you can be for God. And also if you are doing away with the law, all right, because these laws, statutes, and judgments and commandments is what God gave us, and this is how he's answering this young ruler about getting everlasting life. He said, but if thou will enter into life, keep the commandments, right? Verse 18, he saith unto him, which Jesus said, thou should do no murder. You see, that's the first one he said, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor thy father and thy mother, and thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. So what the Lord is doing is he just recited some of the commandments, that you see in the Old Testament, Exodus chapter 20. One of the commandments in Exodus 20 is thou shalt not kill. So God just gave you another way of, just said it a different way, still mean the same thing. He said, thou should do no murder. So when you taking the life of a child, what do you think is going on? You are murdering. And in order for you to get into the kingdom, listen, you got to keep the commandments. So I don't care what legislation says. I don't care what the different laws they write, to make it fit or to make it seem right. It's still wrong. It's against the Lord. Let's see here. I want to read something here. Give me 1 second. I'll show you something because just because it's in black and white or they made this legal, that doesn't mean that it's right. I'm gonna show you some. Give me 1 second to pull something up here. And if you somebody that if you somebody that are in this particular situation where you got a child, or you're pregnant with a child and you don't know what to do and you're being pressured and stuff like that, then listen, man, it's absolutely wrong. You have that child. You don't know what that child gonna turn out to be. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, whether you know or not, that doesn't matter. God did not allow you to be able to have children, so for you to be the judge to take their life. Let's look at something in Psalms chapter 94. Psalms 94. Psalms 94, and we're gonna pick this up at verse. Let's start at 16. It says, "Who will rise up for me against the evildoers, or who will stand up for me against the workers of iniquity?" Somebody has to represent the Lord. "Unless the Lord had been my help, my soul had almost dwelt in silence. When I said my foot slipped, thy mercy, O Lord, held me up. In the multitude of thy thoughts within me, thy comforts delight my soul. Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee?" Talking about people that are righteous. Or with God himself, shall the throne of iniquity or the throne of sin where sin lies at, it says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee? And this is why I say there's no way you can call yourself serving God and you backing these laws. You backing homosexuality. Just think about it. You can't have no children when you're homosexual. Satan is very crafty, people, and that's what I want us to understand. Satan is behind all of this. See, God don't have to make person after person. Like he created Adam. Once he created Adam, he created Eve, and they came together and populated the world. But he told them to do that, which we're gonna read. And if it's done right and properly, these beings that are created, they'll become a part of the God family, you see, and we'll be able to become sons of God and enjoy what God has set aside for this man. But if you have Satan on the other side telling you that it's okay to abort your babies, telling you that it's okay to have sex, just wear a contraceptive, because another part of this is, no contraceptive needed, because when you get married, you don't need to worry about birth control. I was talking to several people over the past few weeks about contraceptives inside the marriage, and you don't need contraceptive, period. If you're not sleeping around, not being married, you don't have to worry about the contraceptive. You see? Because that's, for the most part, not all the time, for the most part, the reason people use contraceptives is to stop from having children. Condoms, the overnight pill, you see, the abortion clinics, the birth control, the things they put in their arms and stuff like that, the pills that the women have to take, to stop, to try to control their birth, the rate of having children. And if you look at some of these different contraceptives that happen, over time, if you continue to take birth control pills and getting a shot in your arm and stuff like that, that goes against the makeup of the body. And what that does is sometimes, it shows that sometimes what it does is softens the walls of the female, that holds the baby. So when she gets ready to conceive, and as she go a week or 2 or 3 weeks, hey, she can't go a full term. More than likely, she'll have a miscarriage because of the damage that's been caused by the different contraceptives, as far as pills and shots and stuff like that are concerned. So that stuff isn't good for you. If God didn't want you to have children, believe me, He would have made you in a way where that wouldn't happen. But He made it for women to be able to bear children. And there's a time where He gonna stop, that body from being able to have kids. But back to the verse, it says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frame mischief?" They frame sin, they frame evil by a law. In other words, they will put a law together to make it seem like it's okay, to sin, to do wrong. Just because you have a law in the books that says Proposition 8, if I'm not mistaken, which was passed in LA regarding homosexuality, just because you have a law that's put on the books to justify, that don't make it right. Just because you have a law put on the books to justify or allow a woman to have an abortion, that does not make it right. It's still sin. And the only way you're going to be able to get into everlasting life, you're going to have to keep God's commandments. All the way down to this, one of these basic ones that we tend to miss. Yeah, you might not be going out murdering somebody, breaking in their house, killing and stuff like that. But what about when you take that life of a child? What about that? It's to the point that they're saying now that you can even go, the women can go all the way to the past the third trimester. If she tried to abort the baby during the time it was in her stomach, in her womb, right, and it didn't work, at birth, this is what these ignorant people say. They say at birth, when she has the baby, she can decide what she want to do. Okay, and this is oh God. They said that they're going to keep the baby comfortable while she decides. So in other words, they try to make it seem like, well, it's going to be okay. We're going to keep the baby comfortable. We're going to make sure it's not crying and stuff like that, while the mother decides whether she wants to kill the child or not. Now, this is after the child is born. This is once the child is born, the woman now has a right in New York City, and I believe they're trying to pass it in Virginia, if they haven't already. The woman now has a right to kill the baby on sight. It's no longer where, when you conceive a child and before the second trimester, before the first trimester is over, you have that window to take the child's life. Listen, that's bad within itself, because it's still murder and it's still killing, period. But people had, they had the mindset, well, listen, even though I shouldn't be killing, well, at least let me have some pity for it and get it done at an early age so the baby won't even feel nothing. Now we've gotten to the point that mankind is so set on killing the black man that what they'll do is they will allow you as a woman to have that baby, to deliver that child and kill that baby right there next to you after you just deliver. That is wicked. And I just want to make sure we understand that God gonna come back and shut all this down real soon. Let's go look at some of Exodus chapter 1. But just make sure we understand in Psalm 94, he says, "Shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frame mischief by a law?" They'll make up a law to justify their wrongdoing. And because it's a law or it's now legal, it makes the person that's actually going through with the abortion, it makes them feel like, okay, it's fine because the government has set a law. But listen, just because it's a law, that don't make it right. Just because you have a law saying two men can sleep together, that don't make it right in God's eyes. See, when it's all said and done, the law that is most important is God's law, and God told you not to kill. Let's go look at some of the Exodus right quick. Exodus chapter 1. Exodus chapter 1. Like I said, I just wanted to just bring this out, just point this out because, just to see where we are in time, and I just want anybody who may be going through this, whether it be a married couple, whether it be a couple that's in the truth, whether it's a single a single woman that might have, got into a situation and, one night stand or something like that, and you ain't with the person no more. Listen, even for rape, people like to throw that out there. What if she get raped? She got a right to kill a child. You show me in the Bible where God give you the right to kill a child, period. Once you do that, then hey, I'll back up. But you're not going to find that nowhere. You just got to let God deal with the person who decided to commit that wicked act on a person anyway. You know what I'm saying? If somebody rape a person, sister get pregnant, brother do something, or man, when I mean brother and sister, in this case, I'm talking about sister as far as a woman is concerned, brother as far as a man is concerned. So in this case, a brother happened to rape a sister, and she gets pregnant. Well, you still got to have a child. You can't, like my father used to say to me, two wrongs don't make it right. You know what I'm saying? So don't go kill a child because you got raped. Listen, you still got to have it. God to deal with that brother, that person who committed that wicked act against the sister. But in my head, when I read the Bible, when I look at history, as far as the Bible is concerned, and as far as history is concerned, with the black man in America, the black man that's been scattered throughout the world into captivity, because most people may not think that this has anything to do with race or nationality. It has a lot to do with God's chosen people, and that's what we don't understand. What the nations will do. They'll put a dragnet out. One brother told me this a while back. I never thought about it like this, but it makes a lot of sense. They'll put a dragnet out, and in order to get the target, they may, in the meantime, happen to catch their own people inside the net. But the actual goal is to get Israel, and that's what we have to understand. It's no different than how it was during the time when Israel went down into Egypt thousands of years ago. The same exact thing is going on. So let's have a look at this. It says, Exodus chapter 1, now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man in his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher, and all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls. For Joseph was in Egypt already. So this is a lineage of Jacob. When he went down into Egypt, Joseph was already there. The Israelites did good at that time, right? However, Joseph going to die off, and also the Pharaoh that was cool with Joseph, he going to die off also. So there's going to rise up another Pharaoh who knew not Joseph and really didn't give a damn about them, right? That's what he going to say in verse 8. Now there rose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. And why you just think about it? Regardless of who you are, what nationality you are, you just have to look back and just kind of think about all the different atrocities that you see happening to a particular people. Just ask yourself, why is this happening? Why does it continue to go on? Because it's something deeper than what you know. And most people don't understand that, listen, the nationality is, it starts off with the man. The woman does not create the nationality. The man is the one that carries the seed. So whatever the father is, that's what the child is going to be. So because of that, you have this fighting going on between the white man and the black man. That's just how the world is operating right now. Because you have men trying to fight for position. You know how we look at it as alpha male. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's what you got going on right here. That's all. With these nations still trying to take down one particular nation. So it says that in verse 11, he says, come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there fall out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So at this point now, Pharaoh is coming up with a plan to take out the Israelites, right? Now, let's see here. Make sure I put this verse in here, Psalm 83. He's going to come up with a plan to take out Israel. So let's see what he's going to do. It says, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens, and they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses. This is what the Egyptians, a black people, did to the Israelites, another black people. It says, but the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. So they was upset. They didn't like the Israelites. They were grieved because of us. Everything they tried to do, it didn't work. That's just like now. Listen, they trying to do different things to us right now, but it's not working. Why? Because God has his hand on us as a people. That's why he tell you another place in Malachi, he say, listen, I the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed. So regardless of all the different antics they may try to take us out, the Lord is not allowing it. But I just want to show you here that really the overall agenda, it seems like, is to take out the children of God, the Israelites. So it said they made their lives bitter with hard bondage and mortar, and in brick and all manner of service. And in the field, yeah, had them working in the field just like it was when we came here. All the service wherein they made them serve was with rigor. It was tough. And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, when this Hebrew woman has a child, when you go in there, talking to the Hebrew midwives, when you go in there to deliver that child, pay attention to what he's requiring for these midwives to do. He said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. Now, the midwives disagreed with doing this. They didn't do it because they feared God. So they saved the men children alive. However, if you see what's going on right here, pay attention to the request or the commandment that he gave. He said, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, save her alive. Get this light out my eye. This is a really bright light. All right. So now you ask yourself, why save the female alive? Because like I told you, listen, hey, the Egyptians, they can take their males and plant their seed inside of the Hebrew women, and the child is going to come out an Egyptian. Likewise, if you take a Israelite man, he planted seed inside of a Egyptian woman, guess what the child going to come out? It's going to come out an Israelite. That's why Jacob, when he went down in Egypt, he took 70 souls down there. When he came out, listen, it was millions of them. Probably a little over me, probably around a me. But the point is, listen, he went down in Israel. When he went down into Egypt, Israel was small, but the Israelites came out big at this time when they came out of Egypt. What do you think most of, when they was going, when the 12 sons went down into Egypt, when they was having children, they had grabbed women from out of Egypt because it wasn't nobody else. There weren't no other women they could, mess with at that time in that location. I mean, it might have been other nationalities, but they, as far as Israel is concerned, they wasn't messing with their sister. Jacob had a daughter. They weren't messing with their sister. So when they went down to Egypt, they took wives from down there, and that's how Israel became a nation. But the nation is started by the man. This is why they were trying to do everything they could, or this is why he advised them to kill off the son, if it's a male child. Look at Psalms 83 right quick. And we got two more places after this, and that's going to be in Psalms 83. Psalms 83, and we're going to pick this up at verse 1. Notice the same thing is happening like it was back then. Psalms 83 and verse 1. Keep not thy silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. Notice what they're doing now, because the hidden ones are the children of Israel. All right? We're starting to wake up now, but this is who this is referring to when he said they've taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against our hidden ones. So you may see like these different laws being passed, and most people may think that this is for everybody. This is not going to affect, more different nationalities of families like it's going to affect Israel. See, we do, for the most part, poor, can't afford to take care of children. We, for the most part, don't have marriages or relationship that last. We at the bottom of the totem pole. So when it comes to this type of stuff, having a child, it seems more beneficial to take the life of the child to make life easier for us as parents. However, that's completely opposite, because first and foremost, God blessed us. You being able to have children, that is a blessing from God. That has nothing to do with what I'm saying, you worrying about whether you're gonna be able to take care of it or not. That's a blessing from God. So you're gonna have to have faith in that. But in the meantime, like I say, they try to make it seem as if like, well, if you have too many children, what I'm saying, go and get your tubes tied. And just think about it. You get a certain age, you get up in your 40s and 50s, you gonna think you ain't gonna try to go get this have your wife tubes untied. But when you're young, they all in your ear. You get to 2 and 3 children, 4 children, they trying to do things to make you stop. And if you don't have any sense or you don't know no better, you think it's okay. So just imagine the woman that's in a hospital by herself. She has a child. Then you have all these people in there, these nurses and doctors sitting on her and sitting there waiting on her to make a decision to keep the child that she just birthed or to kill it. And if she's weak-minded, more than likely she's gonna kill it. But it's wrong. It's sin. You are committing murder. And you're going to have to answer for this. Regardless of what the world says about this, listen, it is wrong. It's against God's commandments. You are not supposed to be doing this. But like I said, this is really a dragnet being put out there to for the most part, get a nation of people, which Satan is absolutely against. But he'll just use people to do his bidding, just like God uses people to do his. He said, they've said, verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembrance. That sounds like what Pharaoh was saying, right? Pharaoh had the same mindset. He was trying to do the same exact thing. He told the Hebrew midwife Shiphrah and the Puah, he said, listen, if it's a male child, go ahead and kill it. But if it's a female, leave it alive. Don't mess with it. Why? Because the nation, it starts out with the male. So just understand and pay attention to how we get shot down more than anybody. You do not see Africans from Africa getting shot down in the streets like you see African American men or Negroes getting killed by the police. Filling up the prison houses, you see more Negroes in there. Homosexuality is being pushed and advertised more to the black man more than anybody else. Why? Because it's all a plot to stop this nation from growing. The children of God. Excuse me. But just like it was back then with Egypt, you see the same exact thing going on today. Let's go look at what the Lord said to Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 1. We're going to pick this up at verse 5. Notice what the Lord is going to say to him. He says, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou came forth out of thy womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. So You may be somebody that's back and forth trying to figure out, well, I got a wife, we married now, we want to have children, but you know, 2 is enough, 3 is enough. Listen, you don't got that power to determine how many kids is enough. Okay? God has that power. When he decides to stop your womb as a woman from being able to have children, he'll do it. Until that time, you just be obedient, do what God said. And we're going to get to that at the end, what it is that God said. But like with Jeremiah, he said, what? Before I formed in the belly, before you were even a seed inside of the belly, I knew thee. And before thou came forth out of the womb, before you were born, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nation. So he had already had his marching orders as soon as he was born. That's what you have to understand. You don't know what God has going on with that child that you getting ready to bring forth. You as parents just have faith in God. You as somebody that may not even know the word of God, but just dealing with how should I handle this child that's in my stomach. You might be 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and single. Might have had a one-night stand. You trying to figure out, should I kill this child? Listen, it's wrong. Period. Point blank across the board, it is sin. And God ain't pleased with it. You never know how things are going to turn out. My grandmother had my mother, I think when she started having children, she was 14 years old. I'm glad she didn't abort any of my aunts and my uncles and my mother. My mother was young when she had my sister. I was next. She was young also. Her and my father were together. Praise the Lord for that. But I'm just happy they didn't decide to take my life. You understand? Because you never know how things are going to turn out. You're going to have to keep your faith in God and don't listen to what's going on in the world. We tend today to look at children as if they're a problem, as if there's something that, something to be despised. But no, listen, children are a blessing from God. We're going to look at that. He said, before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou came forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. The same thing with John the Baptist. Same thing with Jesus. You see? But now let's look at something. I think it's Psalm 105. I'm mistaken. Give me 1 second. We almost done. Got one more place after this. I wanted to just tune in and make sure got this in this week. And this was definitely on my mind. Just to be able to see where things are going at right now, it's just kind of shocking. But hey, we living in this time where the Lord is getting ready to make his presence known to the world. It's funny how, right after Christmas, there's a government shutdown. Lasts for 3 weeks. Then you got a cold front that come through the world, half of the United States, and just freeze everybody, killing people with cold weather. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's funny how this stuff happens. You think people learn to stop celebrating Christmas. Because right after that, you see the Lord be mad as hell. He'll be allowing all type of crap to happen. Not to the ones in the world and the truth, but I'm just saying, like, it's just like, man, right after that, Lord be tearing people up, man. Nobody still pays that any attention. See something here. It should be in the book of Psalm, what I'm looking for. Yeah. Psalms 123. We're going to pick this up at verse 3. It says, lo, children are an heritage of the Lord, and the fruit of the womb is his reward. Y'all understand that? I just want you to understand that when you decide to watch this video, if you ever thinking about, some of the things that the world is putting out there, notice what the Bible is saying. It said, lo, children are an heritage from the Lord. They come from God. And the fruit of the womb. So you being able to produce children, that's his reward to you. And that's what we have to understand, as opposed to looking at children as a problem. We have to look at this in the right way, that God has blessed you to be able to have children. He said the fruit of the womb is the reward. That's the reward or a blessing that comes from God. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, just like a mighty man, he may have his arrows when he's going out to war. You know what I'm saying? He say what? So are the children of the youth. They all over the place. It's a lot of children that you can have, right? So are the children of the youth. Happy is the man that have his quiver full of them. So he didn't say sad is the man. Just like the arrows in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of the youth. So be fruitful and multiply and be happy about that. You don't need no contraceptives. You don't need nothing to stop that. God put a feeling inside you for you to be able to desire your wife and your wife to be able to desire you. And like I said, if you did it out of order and you pregnant with a child, listen, and you a man and you got a girlfriend that's pregnant, well, listen, that don't mean you throw her away. Y'all go ahead and do what's right. Go ahead and get married and keep having children and serving God and raise them up to be sons of God. That's how this is supposed to work. It ain't supposed to work the other way around, where we're looking at children as if it's a problem. I come from a time where one side of my family had, I think, a total might have been like 14. One side had 9. So that's what I wanted. I wanted a lot of children, and it wasn't a problem. That's how it was supposed to be. So we have to get back to that, looking at children as a blessing from God. Like he said they are reward. The fruit of the womb is his reward. As arrows are in the hand of a mighty man, so are the children of the youth. Happy is the man that his quiver. Happy is the man that hath his quiver full of them. They shall not be ashamed, but they shall speak with the enemies in the gate. So listen, man, don't let somebody deter you from having kids. Don't be amazed by all these different commercials out here and stuff like that. You know, trying to give you things to stop it, over the counter overnight pills. When you go in, you have sex, you go right to the store, buy you a pill, you know, and kill a baby. The next morning it's gone. The morning after. Listen, you're going to be in the fire after you kill your child. You better stop doing that. Don't listen. At the time of your ignorance, God winked at. But now that you know better, you can't continue to do this. All right, Genesis chapter 2. And let's see what the commandment was that the Lord gave to Adam and Eve once he brought them on the scene. Genesis chapter 2. And we're going to pick this up at around verse Genesis chapter 2. No, it's Genesis chapter 1, actually. Genesis 1. We're going to look at verse 26. Genesis chapter 1. Let's look at what the Lord, this is the beginning of the Bible. All right, when the creation first started. Let's see what the Lord is going to tell Adam and Eve. Genesis 1 and verse 26. And we're going to read down to 28. It said, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creep upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that move upon the earth. But what he told them though, if you look at what he said now, he told them, he said, what? Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. That means you're going to lay with your wife, you're going to have children, you're going to keep having children. So that's the whole goal. Is to be obedient to what God said. I know the world make it seem like it's cool, but listen, man, don't listen to the world. We're going to take you to hell. So if you would like to read on what happened the other day in the Senate of New York, the article, I actually have the actual legislation right here. It says State of New York 2017-18 regular sessions in Senate. And it's so they've been writing this up for some time. They just passed it early this year. I think it's 2796. I think that's what it's called. Let me see here so I can make sure you have it in case you want to. It's called a Reproductive Health Act. Okay, that's the one they passed in New York. So uh, I hope this helps somebody. I hope just think about it. You know what I'm saying? And for those couples that are just getting together, or couples that have been married for some time, to have children, listen, man, and you want children, listen, be fruitful, multiply, and replenish the earth. That's what God said do. All right, He gonna take care of your kids. You just be obedient, do what He said. If you happen to be single and stuff like that, and you pregnant, don't take your child life. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to have to deal with this for the rest of your life, and then possibly wake up in the lake of fire and have to answer for killing a baby, because that's murder. So I hope somebody got some understanding, and like I say, peace in Jesus' name.